Hello, fellow Minecrafters. Gearsaw Studios here. Today, I'm going to show you how to build an underground cabin. Because 1.18's been out for a while and 1.19's coming soon, so now's the prime time to make an underground base. So, before I begin, remember, please like and subscribe. It really helps me out. So, with that, on to the tutorial. Also, one thing, this is a remake. The other one's still okay, but I decided it's time for a new one. For this builds palette, we're going to be doing something simple. We're going to be using deep slate tiles with their cracked variant for the floor, some nice spruce planks with a lower block of the walls being some good old dark oak stripped logs. For our accents and furniture, we're going to be using dark oak planks. And for other parts of the wall, such as the dividers, you can use dark oak or spruce logs unstripped. So it's down to personal preference which one you like. So it's up to you. Typically I'd go with dark oak because it just works better in a lot of builds, but spruce is easier to get due to the presence of mega trees. So it's completely up to you. Then, this build works well with the deep slate layer due to the presence of deep slate in the darker build palette. So, I've chosen this little wall right here by this aquifer. So that way, you can just have a nice small boating expedition around. Although it's not the most practical, it's way prettier. So, with our palette chosen, of course, do it in the deep slate layer, but one thing you should account for is the fact that your wall might be an aquifer, just as I found out right before I was going to build. So be careful, because it literally could just be a giant aquifer that's in the middle of the ocean. So be very careful with that. So I'd recommend pressing F3 to make sure that you're not in an ocean biome. Unfortunately, I am, so there's not going to be many changes, but still, be careful because your wall might just be an aquifer. Happens more times than you'd think. So, remember to check the wall before you're doing too much to it. Once you've chosen your cave wall to make it in, what you should do is, of course, just mine into it. Since you've already checked that there's no water behind it, hopefully, that is not too much of an issue. And you might even find ores while you're digging it out. So, it's not even the worst choice to build because, yeah, you're getting ores while doing it. So you can recycle some of the materials back into the build, such as the deep slate. So, immediately, we want to make a pretty decently sized room. Probably about 15 by 15, if not more. But before we can do that, we need to make an entrance. So, place down your little blocks you have right there. So start your wall design basically. And then surround it with spruce planks. Then put dark oak door. And now you have an entrance. However, this kind of juts out pretty obviously, which means we have to do a little bit of work to it in order to make it look a bit more natural. And it even makes it look a little bit better anyways, because on top of being a bit more realistic, you can put those resources back, so it doesn't really cost anything to do it. So there's very little point to not doing it. Just be careful, because deep slate is a directional block. So remember to place everything straight upward, so that way nothing messes up. So I buried the entrance a little, and it looks quite a bit better, because it doesn't jut out as much, and it's another opportunity to include some lighting. But of course, we have this area. So, dig it out. Just make it decently large, because what happens is you'll get lazy, or you'll run out of resources, and you'll decide, you know what, it's a little better if it's a little smaller, and then you'll run out of room for enchanting tables and such. So, I'd highly recommend making your thing relatively large, so that way you don't run out of space. Because that's one of the things that happened in my last tutorial, which means we should try to prevent the mistakes of the past. So, make it big. With this decently sized area dug out, we can always expand it later. But we need to decorate the walls. We can already see a basic scheme right here with the dark oak stripped logs on the bottom and the spruce everywhere else. And we can segment it on the inside only by just spacing it out with logs like this, which means you can just space out the walls, add the depth, and there's no exterior, and there's a massive interior, which means there's less to worry about outside, which means you can focus more on the inside. Along with that, you have the freedom of size because you're underground. Who cares? Which means you can just do whatever you want. So, do whatever you have here, and repeat it, and create a nice wall pattern. With our walls in, it's time to do the floor and ceiling, which is pretty simple. Get your deep slate tiles and do the floor, which means fill it all in with deep slate tiles, then remove some, get cracked deep slate tiles, and the roof. Dig one block upward, and then replace the new ceiling with spruce planks. Overall, very simple, and it gives you more vertical space while also giving you a nice floor. So, I'd recommend doing that. With a floor and ceiling, this room is almost ready to be decorated. However, considering the design I've done here, you could actually connect up the ceiling. And it might be tempting to add support beams, which isn't the worst idea. But keep that in mind, so you might be able to detail the roof a bit more. However, remember, you can always expand in different directions, so no point in trying to section off this place into multiple rooms. With the unique pattern we have around here, we have a pretty cool room, and the ceiling is very detailed with all those support beams going across, giving that underground vibe. You could also do an X, but that doesn't work well with logs. But if you have some way to do it, go ahead. Now, we need storage, because you're going to be doing a lot of mining, so what better way to do it than using a ton of barrels or chests. Barrels are more fashionable, but chests are more useful. I'm just going to do barrels because not my house, I don't live here, but it would probably be better to do chests, due to the ability to be using double chests, but there's no double barrel. Now, we have some fashionable storage. Then, just fill this place up with various things, but keep two things in mind. One, your bedroom should not be in the main area. And two, keep room for a farm, possibly in the middle of the room, because glowberries in my last tutorial did not actually sustain life that well, considering they grew slowly and they did not work as good food at all. So, dedicate an area to a farm. So, I filled up this place with various utilities, including small versions of super smelters, where you can just put in the items, insert the fuel manually, and it pulls the items out for you, which means you can smelt your ores and whatnot very easily. Along with that, we have non-automatic versions, some utilities, and a crafting table. Don't forget about the storage wall, which makes this place pretty good so far. However, you have probably noticed we have two plain rooms, and these are going to be for enchanting and our bedroom. Starting with the bedroom, we can just do whatever we've had here on these walls. So, punch out these walls and do whatever you've been doing. You could do the tiles, or you can go for something lighter, such as birch planks, which is a bit more homely and less industrialized like the rest of the build is. So, make your little bedroom here, and for over here by the enchanting room, just make the walls bookshelves. Alright, I've done a small amount of the bedroom, and I've done the ceiling, and the enchanting room was incredibly simple. We just needed the enchanting table, barrels, and bookshelves, and it's a full power enchanting table, which means you can copy the setup I have here. Along with that, hanging a lantern on top of the barrel where you store your lapis on the ceiling is another neat thing you can do. So, very simple, you can copy the design I have here. Now for the bedroom, I recommend filling it up with a couple of tables, dark oak tables, with some armor stands and just other things you can think of. I've successfully added a lot of detail to this place, including some carpet with wool blocks underneath it, so that way it goes under the table, armor stand, painting, and bubble elevators. One to get down to the diamond level, and the other one to go up towards the copper level or just the surface. Overall, a very good bedroom. Along with that, this place is done, which leaves only one thing left, besides some other details like an anvil. And that's the potato room. And that's how we're going to get food. Which means, like this, I'm going to use /fill, put in these coordinates here, and these coordinates here, and that's how I dig out areas very quickly. If you're in creative mode, you can do that too. But what we have to do now is we need to dig out a little bit more, and then we need to place down dirt, till it, and add some way to get in and out from this place. Overall, it's a very good way to get food, so of course I recommend doing a potato room because you can smelt it down considering you're getting a lot of coal from mining, which means very easy source. You could also do carrots because golden carrots are not bad either. However, that costs gold. Now, with the potatoes in and a couple of extra details, I'd call this build done. We have our utilities, some really good furnaces, a very nice bedroom with water elevators for accessibility, enchanting, something I did not have in my last tutorial, anvils, ender chest, just other things you will need, and even some room for a nether portal, which I'm not going to add because honestly they're way too noisy. But you get the idea. It's very livable, very pretty, and don't forget, hop right outside, add some chain lanterns, boat, and you have just a very nice lifestyle. You live in the caves, you mine, you come back, and you just live down here. And by the time you come back to the surface to build something bigger, you have all the deep slate, cobblestone, and ores you'll ever need. Which means this is just a very nice build, and I'd highly recommend building it as your first house. So, with that, it's the end of today's video. If you enjoyed this video, remember, please like and subscribe. It really helps me out. And with that, take care, have a nice day. Remember, not every level is equal for mining ores. Some are better than others for various ores. Gearsaw, out.